We're in. Good afternoon. It is noon. Yes, we're talking about our different time zones that we have on our computers. But I believe it is 12 noon start time to get started. So, Mr. Ball, could you please call the meeting to order?
Yes, the KUB board meeting, December 21st, 2023 is called to order. And roll call.
Roll call. That's what I meant to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Caballero,
Present.
Commissioner Feinbaum,
Present.
Commissioner Gibson, Commissioner Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Herbert,
Here.
Commissioner Simpson Brown,
Here
Commissioner Small.
Here.
and accounted for. Oh, my goodness. May we have an approval of the meetings? We all had an opportunity to review November's meetings. May I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have an official resolution to take action, so I recognize Gabe for that.
Thank you, Chair. I want to recognize Chris Hood, our new Vice President of Finance, to give you a presentation on our proposed fiscal year '24 tax equivalent payments, also known as our pilots. Chris, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Today, I would like to review with you the proposed payment in lieu of taxes or pilots for this upcoming fiscal year, as well as present Resolution 1484 for your consideration. This resolution is a request to City Council to set for distribution the pilots for our electric, gas, and fiber divisions for the fiscal year 2024. To start with, I want to just give you the total amount of proposed pilots for our 5 operating divisions today. That sets at a little bit north of $35.3 million. That amount is up about $2 million from last year. Obviously, as a component of the calculation of our pilots, you've got 2 factors, and one is the plant value of our divisions. Each of those are up this year, thus producing a higher level of pilots, as well as our operating margins in the electric and gas divisions. So that $2 million is just a component of the tax calculation itself. I guess if there is a bright spot, it would be the fact that instead of paying $36 million, we are paying $35 million. We're about $1 million under budget this year on our pilots, and that is a reflection of the fact that the outlying taxing jurisdictions actually had some rate decreases this year, as well as the equalization rates going down for some of those taxing jurisdictions. Additionally, as we have well documented, the board supply chain continues to be an impact. Some of the supply chain impacts this year caused us to not be able to put as many assets in service as what we had budgeted. So that's the remaining component of the fact that we were down about $1 million compared to budget. Before we get into looking at the payments by utility and by taxing jurisdiction, just a little bit of a review of the governance surrounding pilots. Start out with the water and wastewater divisions. State law is silent to the calculation of pilots for utilities in the water and wastewater space. So KUB reverts back to city charter. We calculate water and wastewater payments based on our net plant values in our water and wastewater division. Those are paid to the city in February each year. That only requires approval of this board to make those payments. So what we're here for today to talk about in resolution is actually what goes on in our electric, gas, and fiber divisions. For electric and gas, state law specifically outlines how payments are to be calculated and how they are to be distributed. For those divisions, we make payments based upon the net plant value of the assets in those systems, as well as the 3-year average operating margins. So there's 2 parts to that calc for electric and gas. It takes both the approval of this board and what we'll have as our resolution today, approval of City Council as KUB's governing statutory body. So the City Council's got to approve those and set those for distribution. Those payments are made to the city, the county, and any taxing jurisdiction in which we have assets located. So you'll see that on the slide where we talk about the payments to the jurisdictions. The electric and gas payments go to several of the surrounding counties. Similar to electric on the fiber side, calculation is much the same. However, there is one caveat in state law. It's actually to our benefit. It basically states that a public entity producing fiber, such as KUB, does not have to pay an amount in excess of what a private entity would pay, so a Comcast and AT&T. So the calculation is only based on the assets. So similar to how they would pay asset or a property tax based on their assets, we do the same here. Once again, that is set to be paid in June after City Council approves. Commissioner Small?
Yeah, what would be the fibers, how do we calculate fibers assets? Because I thought fibers assets were owned by electric, so.
They are.
what we've-
They are very astute. So the majority of fiber's assets, which is the fiber distribution network, is owned by the electric system. And fiber pays electric for the use of that asset. What fiber has is very, very small. We've got a billing system and a couple vehicles. So this amount, when you see the amount that fiber pays, it's only $11,000. It's pretty small, and it really won't grow that much. Where fiber really pays is they pay a payment to electric to use those electric system assets. All right, so here's how everything is carved up by division. As you know, electric is our biggest division. Electric assets are growing thanks to that fiber backbone. And with that, you see that the change in payment from year to year has grown quite a bit, up $1.6 million. In total, electric will pay almost $18.8 million this year. The majority of that increase is due to asset growth. However, about $450,000 of it is due to increased operating margins. So as a whole, up $1.6 million. And we would continue to think that that should rise as that electric system continues to expand. Gas, up slightly this year, about $125,000. Once again, the majority of that is based on the expansion of assets in the gas system. Water, a little bit peculiar this year in the fact that water's flat. It's actually down slightly. And this is a little bit due to the fact that we placed fewer assets in service this year. We will not have that problem next year with the with the filter system going in at the plant. We also retired a good number of assets at water this year. So that's a little bit peculiar, but we'll take the win where we can get it. Then you got wastewater. Once again, assets are up in wastewater, up about $250,000 there. In total, about $5.6 million of wastewater pilots to the city. And then finally, you see fiber. Once again, small amount. That has grown significantly, but that is basically, it's not ever going to be really big. It should stay pretty small. So, all right. I want to move on and let you see how the payments are made to the taxing jurisdictions. How's the $35 million sliced up? As is customary, City of Knoxville is where the majority of our assets are. They also receive all of the water and wastewater payments. So you can see that they get over 2/3 of KUB's tax base, roughly $24.1 million this year. That's up $1.3 million, and the majority of that is coming from that electric expansion. Next up, City of Knoxville tops over $10 million this year, $10.2 million, excuse me, Knox County. I said City of Knoxville. Knox County tops $10.2 million this year, $700,000 increase there. Once again, majority of that is coming from our electric system. And then you see the benefit we receive from the outlying taxing jurisdictions, outlying counties. Most of those, due to property increases in those counties, were able to pull either their tax rate or their equalization rate back. KUB gets the benefit of that when they do that. So in total, that's about $1 million from the outlying taxing jurisdictions.
Chris, are the asset values that we pay on, are they the gross values or are they depreciated values?
It's a net. It's a net. Yeah. So part of that on water, where you see that, that's partially depreciation as well.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So in total, asset base there, or excuse me, tax base, producing $35.3 million worth of pilots. All right, so here's what we're here to vote on today, and it's actually Resolution 1484. This is the request to City Council to fulfill that statutory requirement that they approve and set for distribution payments for the electric, gas, and fiber systems. Total amount for those, $26,036,228.
Anyone have any questions?
Curious about this amount?
Uh-huh.
All right, that amount is just electric, gas, fiber. It does not include water, wastewater, because this board approves those. So the only thing that they've got to do through statute is the electric, gas, wastewater.
All right,
Or
you
excuse
got
me,
me.
electric, gas,
35
fiber.
million.
Okay, I was.
Yeah, that
I was
is a
trying
amount
to do the
you've
math
not
in my
seen.
head. And I was like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? So we'll need a motion and a second on first and final reading, but before that, are there any members of the public who would like to address the board on this resolution? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So
Move to-
move.
Second.
Mr. Ball, will you please call the roll for the vote on Resolution 1484 on first and final reading?
Commissioner Caballero,
Am I supposed to say just yes? I always say it wrong and then they follow me. Do I say yes is okay? Okay, yes. Sometimes they say I and then they mess it up.
Commissioner Feinbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Gibson. Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert,
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Small.
Affirmative.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Gabe for his president's report.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'd like to recognize Mark Walker, Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. Sorry, I changed your title, didn't I? Chief Financial Officer, for an update on a recent sale of bonds we had in the last month. Thank you, Mark.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I do want to provide you a brief update on the sale of electric and water bonds that took place back in mid-November. And we sold a total of $75 million in new bonds, and do bring some good news related to that, in that the rates that we received, a true interest cost on each series of bonds, was below budget by about 60 to 65 basis points. So we were pleased with the results on that. In total, $75 million in new bonds, $55 million for the electric system, $20 million for the water system. The proceeds, what we received from the sale of the bonds, will be used to fund electric and water system capital improvements to help fund a portion of those capital budgets for FY24. We did have a lot of interest in the bonds. A large number of bidders, in particular for the electric bonds. We had a total of 13 bids received, which may be a record for us on that. So we were certainly pleased with that. We received 7 bids for the water bonds. And as I mentioned, the rates, the true interest cost came in pretty well below what we had budgeted. So the total savings over the life of the bonds for both series combined, compared to what we would have in our long-range plan, is around $6 million. Now, one thing I want to point out, you see this bullet here, the sale actually generated close to $79 million in cash. And so how can you do that when you just sold $75 million in bonds? And that is because, as we've discussed before, there are times when underwriters bid large premiums in exchange for higher coupon rates on the bonds. And that's particularly what happened with the electric division, or the electric bonds. We received a total premium of $4.1 million. So that's up front. In exchange for that, the coupon rates, or the interest rates that we'll pay over the life of the bonds, and what investors will get, is average of 5%, which is what we budgeted. So the savings for the electric is all on the front end in the form of a $4.1 million cash premium, which is good. It was different for water. There was a small premium bid for the low-cost bidder, so those savings of about $2 million are spread over the life of the bonds in lower interest payments. It just depends upon how the bids come in and the structure of the bid for the low-cost bidder. Looking at the bids that we received for the electric bonds, again, a total of 13. The low-cost bidder was J.P. Morgan Securities at a true interest cost of 4.40%. So when we calculate the TIC, or true interest cost, that premium is factored in there, because the average coupon rate on these bonds is 5%. You factor in the $4.1 million premium, it drives it down. And another interesting thing to note is the spread between the low bid and the high bid is it's less than 5 basis points. So that is pretty narrow, considering the number of bidders that submitted bids for the bonds. So looking at our electric, how the debt service is going to be paid on these bonds, it is over a period of 30 years. So the final maturity for the electric bonds will occur in July of 2053. They do have a level payback structure. So you can see the total debt service is $107 million, and the breakdown between the principal and the interest. That combination changes over time, much like a home mortgage would work. But we do have a level payback structure, much like a home mortgage would work. And after the first year, when we're just paying interest, it's about $3.6 million per year. The bonds are callable in 2033. There's a 10-year call on these bonds, which means, absent a change in law that allows us to do advance refundings, that the first opportunity we would have to refinance this debt would be in 2033, so 10 years out. And then with the new $55 million, our total electric division debt outstanding increases to $409 million. Any questions on that? Okay. 7 bids on the $20 million in water bonds. The low-cost bidder was Robert W. Baird Investment Firm. 4.33% is the true interest cost on these bonds. The average coupon's 4.35. That's the actual interest rate that we'll pay. So the premium that we receive slightly adjusted downward, the true interest cost on that. And you can see of the 7 bidders, unlike electric, relatively speaking, the spread here is about 20 basis points. So that's interesting. And the fact that we got a lower rate on the water bonds compared to the electric bonds, that's where you're going to see the difference in the bond rating. Water is AAA rated, electric is AA rated. And looking at the profile of the new bonds and how to be repaid, I do want to point out, you see the new bonds, we actually sold $19,995,000. So $5,000 less than the $20 million. Well, why do you do that? That has to do with saving on fees. The rating agencies have breakpoints on how they charge us for that. So if you can stay below $20 million, you're going to save on fees, and you're going to save more than $5,000. So it made sense to. There was some strategy behind actually having a little bit less than $20 million. You can see the total debt service is $35.6 million, a levelized payback structure of about $1.2 million per year once you get past the first year. As with electric, the bonds will fully mature in 30 years, and so that would be March of 2053. The call provision on these bonds is 8 years as opposed to 10 years on electric. So just to point out that distinction. And the total debt outstanding with the new $20 million is $204 million for the water division. And to close out and show you the professional fees that we paid, these are the firms that assist us in facilitating the sale of the bonds, which includes our financial advisor, which is Cumberland Securities, our bond counsel, which is Bass, Berry & Sims, and then the fees that we enjoy paying to Moody's and Standard & Poor's, of course, for rating our bonds. And as you can see, those are always the highest of the group. But in total, the professional fees are just under $320,000. That represents about 0.4% of the par value of the bond, so about 40 basis points, which is quite competitive. And that concludes my present. Any questions? We were pleased to get the rates. And one thing I will add, because I checked to see what rates are today, they have really begun to drop. AA, because I have it right here, AA bonds around 3.75% is your national average. AAA is about 3.55%, which, based upon what we're hearing about the Fed, in 2024, right now we're on schedule to issue about $150 million in new debt next fiscal year. So if this rate trend continues, that'll be good, because we have 5% budgeted in our long-range plans for that. So that's. And one last thing, because I often fail to mention this, but we are required by state law to have the official statement, the final document for the bonds available for the board or the public to review. And in this, you have all the details you'd ever want to know about the bonds and such, and it also includes a breakdown of all the issuance cost and who's receiving what, and that is also required by state law. There are forms we have to submit to the comptroller's office for that. And
Mark, did
Tabby
you
wants
sit?
to have one of those.
That's a good.
well, that was my final comment, in that I think this is from the Finance Division. Merry Christmas and, bon voyage. Here is the official statement for you to take with you if you so desire.
Celeste and I will read it together.
And that concludes my comments. If there's any more questions or any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
All right, Commissioners, I want to introduce John Gresham, my Senior Vice President and Chief Engineering and Operations Officer, to give you a presentation on our newest electric substation, the Western Avenue Substation. A little bit of significance about that. It's the first substation we built in 10 years, and it serves a large portion of our northwest part of our system. And John, to give you the details about that, I want to say thank you to those folks who worked on it. It's a big project. It took a long time to get done because of supply chain issues and all the things that happened in the last 2 or 3 years. And so I want to say thank you for all those folks that persevered through a very large project. So, John?
Yeah, thank you, Gabe. And we'll try to make this more exciting than the notebook over there, maybe. Very happy about this. Gabe hit it right. This is a significant upgrade to our electric system, so personally real happy about that. And Gabe's correct. A lot of folks put time on this, not only KUB, but TVA, contractors. We had to navigate COVID, supply chain, and other things that went on. We won't belabor that. We're going to celebrate success today. So as a reminder, you've heard about this station over the years. This is what we call our Western Avenue infeed. And if you'll remember, it's just off Western Avenue, just west of the Cumberland Estates subdivision there. You can see it on the map here. So here's our Middlebrook operating campus. We're just down the road a bit, and you can take a look at these renderings here that as we entered into design, we've got these artistic renderings here, but we bought the property in 2017. We went into design from there, and we broke ground in construction in June of 2021, right at the height of COVID. This substation ended up costing about $20 million to construct, and it's a joint effort between KUB and TVA. So there's the real picture of the substation as it neared completion there, taken from a drone. So happy to announce and glad as December and cold weather got here that we put this station in service on December the 13th. It started carrying customer load. And how that helps us is this station now carries 5 distribution substations that it serves out in the network, as well as serving 22,800 customers that were already on our system. So it pulled load from its neighboring substations. And as I said, it's a partnership with TVA. So TVA is this darker gravel here. They built a switch yard that gives them some flexibility on their transmission system, and they can reconfigure their system. And then KUB's portion is right here. So you can see our distribution transformer there and our transmission transformer there. So we're pretty proud of the way this turned out in comparison to that. It looks very similar. We do have some vegetation work to do into the spring.
Is TVA's gravel darker because it's cheaper and ours is more?
Yeah. I don't know why. Different supplier, I guess. Yeah. We've got to have our boundaries with them, and that's one of them. So the real significance here is the benefit the station brings to us, and ultimately it's going to provide significant system resiliency for us because we have upcoming transmission system Century 2 upgrades, as well as neighboring substations that need to be upgraded. So think West Hills, the one we typically take you on the tour of down on Middlebrook Pike. That station is due to be refurbished and could not be refurbished until this happened. So that's a big deal for us. You also see it adds about 330 megawatts of capacity to our system, which is but from an operational perspective, a really good thing. It's also going to help us with flexibility there, operational flexibility, which will increase not only resiliency, but reliability, service reliability to the community. And then a really neat thing that happened for us is this provides a redundant in-feed service to our Middlebrook campus. That's the campus that has our operations center, our primary data center. It's a pretty critical site for us. So this gives us a little extra cover there. So we'll have a TV in-feed on the west. We've got the Lonsdale feed on the east of this complex that gives us coverage and hopefully will help us keep our site there very viable. So again, very happy, very proud of everybody that put this thing together, and be happy to take any questions.
Kudos just for sticking in, especially during those tough times of those supply chain issues and stuff. So it's great news.
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Feinbaum for the nominating committee announcement.
Thank you, Chair. Simpson Brown, thank you for chairing the committee this year. Every January, the board elects officers as required by the charter. The nominating committee met today and voted to nominate the following slate of officers for 2024. The chair will be Adrian Simpson Brown. The vice chair will be Ron Feinbaum, and the secretary will be Mark Walker. The election of officers will be conducted in the January 2024 as required by the charter.
Any questions? Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board today on this particular issue? Thank you very much. We do have one more official action on our agenda today, in particular Resolution 1485, and that is to honor Commissioner Tybee Small, as this is his last KUB board meeting. I'd like to recognize Gabe for his remarks.
That's not in my notes.
He's scrolling too.
He's scrolling, exactly.
I object.
Thank you, Chair. It's hard to put things in words. All in that 7 years goes by really quick. I remember when we first met, and we got to hit it off there. I was working under Mintha, and really worked with you on some things and run some projects. And I want to say, appreciate your service. You've been great to work with. You've been very, you represent the people of our community really well, and we're going to miss you dearly. As I always say, it's not goodbye, just we'll see you later somewhere else. And I want to say I appreciate you a whole lot for what you've done for the KUB community, the customers, and our employees. You always made an effort to shout out to our employees when things went well, and really made a big difference to them. They really appreciate that a lot. So thank you for that. I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Wow, we'll do some official stuff. Mr. Ball, would you please read Resolution 1485 for us, please?
Yes. Resolution 1485, a resolution of the Knoxville Utilities Board honoring Tybee Small, who is concluding service as a commissioner. Whereas Tybee Small became a member of this board in January 2017 and has now served faithfully for 7 years, and whereas Commissioner Small's expertise and leadership in diversity, equity, and inclusion and engagement with the University of Tennessee has been valuable to the board as it undertook initiatives for KUB's customers and employees. And whereas during Commissioner Small's tenure, KUB established its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, which provided more than 1,100 KUB employees with DEI training and enhances our commitments to promoting inclusivity and providing equal opportunity in every facet of the organization. And whereas Commissioner Small was personally supportive and engaged in the success of the Teen Work program, and whereas Commissioner Small helped KUB manage the unprecedented circumstances of the COVID-19 global pandemic and its impact on customers, supporting assistance programs which aided more than 18,000 customers with nearly $13 million in relief funds. And whereas Commissioner Small's strong advocacy for our low-income assistance initiatives, including weatherization for more than 2,600 homes, shows his commitment to assisting KUB's customers. And whereas during Commissioner Small's tenure, KUB redefined its core values in a new blueprint outlining our dedication to our customers, our community, our coworkers, and our culture. And whereas Commissioner Small has demonstrated his support for continuous utility system infrastructure investment through KUB's Century 2 program to ensure essential services are safely and reliably delivered to KUB customers. And whereas during his tenure as a commissioner, the board established a community advisory panel to seek input from customers about its programs and services and to help better communicate important utility issues to the community. And whereas during Commissioner Small's tenure, KUB has made significant progress in its operations, its customer focus, its environmental stewardship, and its community impact, winning numerous awards and recognitions. And whereas Commissioner Small has also demonstrated leadership by serving as the vice chair of the board for the past year. And whereas Commissioner Small's engagement in the community extends beyond his tenure on the KUB board and is reflected through his service to other organizations, including the Knoxville Area Urban League, Leadership Knoxville, the Change Center, the Tennessee Valley Fair, and Overcoming Believers Church. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Knoxville Utilities Board that this board hereby gratefully acknowledges and commends Tybee Small for his dedicated service to KUB, its employees, customers, and our community. That this board recognizes Commissioner Small's meaningful and effective service and genuinely regrets that his time on the KUB Board of Commissioners has concluded. That this resolution shall take effect from and after its passage, and that a copy shall be provided to Commissioner Small.
Ooh, that was awkward.
Tybee, we cannot thank you enough for your service alongside us on the board. We greatly appreciate the impact you've made, and we will miss you. And personally, I want to say that you've been a mentor for me just by your servant leadership and the way that you live your life daily. And so you never, they always say you never know who's watching you. Well, I've been watching you. Okay? And you have inspired me to do many other things beyond what I could even imagine. So thank you so much for that. So I would like to request a motion and a second for Resolution 1485 on first and final reading.
So moved. Second.
Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board on this resolution? Seeing none, Mr. Ball, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Caballero?
Aye.
Commissioner Feinbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert?
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson Brown?
Affirmative.
And Commissioner Small.
Sure.
I thought you were gonna abstain there.
I thought about it. I really did.
Following the adjournment of this meeting, the board will have lunch across the hall, and that session is open for the public to observe. This meeting is adjourned.
So can I, now that the meeting's over, I just want to say thank you all for, first of all, the staff. You have been amazing to work with. You all have, sometimes people, they get a little upset about paying public utilities and the work that we do, but you all just handle it with such grace. And I'm just honored to have been a part of this as I think about the CEO process and Gabe coming on board, as I think about, us rolling out the fiber divisions, I think about our work in DEI. This is probably one of the most meaningful things I've been involved with since my time here in Knoxville, and I owe it all to this board, because you are all servant leaders who really do care about the community and you really want to do what's best for them. So it was my honor to serve with you, and to our staff, those who may be watching, thank you for all that you've done. And I won't, this is absolutely not goodbye, but I'll see you later. So thank you all.